who knows how we might be looking back on this time 6 months from now or even a month from now. And so really what we also wanted to pay attention to was to think about all the things around AI, aka our lives.
I've done this more than once, and every time I look at the sign, I'm like, where are we? Without a sign, it's very difficult to tell where you are. However, we're at Esomar Talking Insights. We're at Esomar's Art&Science and Innovation, is that it?
Yeah.
And we are Talking Insights. My name's Dan, Dana Burkle. I've taken over this podcast, apparently, and for whatever reason, and that's okay. And today I am speaking with
Julia Gasperi, Senior Strategy Director of Data and Analytics at Triptych, which is a mouthful, but it is real.
A lot of words. However, more importantly today, you're also
the committee chair. And I have to say this, I'm sorry, it is cringe, but I have never had a piece of furniture in my title before, so that is a confession I need to make.
What other titles have furniture in them?
That I'm aware of, probably zero, but we could ask ChatGPT about that.
We could ask ChatGPT
Yeah.
about that. Let's try it. We're going to do an experiment. We're going to ask ChatGPT what... Okay, so we have ChatGPT on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm in a room talking to my friend Julia. She's telling me she's a committee chair. And I'm trying to figure out, and she said being a committee chair, it's the first title she's ever had with a piece of furniture in it. Can you tell me any other examples of titles for jobs that have furniture in them?
Sure. There are a few job titles that include pieces of furniture besides committee chair. There's also board chair, vice chair, and chairperson. Another example might be desk officer, though it's a bit more of a stretch since it's not as common. Does that help?
It does help, but honestly, chair, desk, cool. I get those. Can you give me some other examples that are more obscure? They use other elements of furniture or other items.
Yeah, maybe they could be part of, I don't know, architecture, or they could come from different cultures.
Sure. Here are a few more creative examples of job titles that incorporate furniture or other items. 1. Bench scientist, used in research settings. 2. Secretary, though it originally referred to someone working at a desk, it's often used more broadly now. 3. Table games dealer, used in casinos. These are a bit more obscure and interesting. Does this give you some fresh ideas?
You're the best. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Now we know.
It's funny. Whenever I talk to ChatGPT, I always give it a compliment at the end. I'm like, "Go you."
I do that as well. And then actually, when I was trying to put some stuff together for the conference, I was asking it to help me hone some stuff. And I told it so I'm traveling tomorrow. And it said, "Don't worry, you will do fine. You will have a great time." And I felt really encouraged by that.
And I think some of those elements, it's like when an ATM says "thank you."
Yeah.
At the end, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, for what? I pushed buttons on you. You gave me a couple euros.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
So here we are in Chicago. We're at this conference, a conference that you set up the content for, right?
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely cannot claim that because there were so many fantastic people who are part of Esomar and who kind of built all this together. I mean, biggest shout out really goes to Amy Collins, who runs this show and who I suspect is clones herself, because otherwise I don't know how she would be doing this. But yeah, I mean, the committee and I's job, if we can call it that, because it was so much fun, was really just to go through an immense amount of content that was submitted for this conference, and really then to think about how we might want to put that content together in a way that would be meaningful and helpful to people attending.
Okay, I'm going to ask...
Curation, in one word.
Let's do, we're researchers, right?
Yeah.
Give yourself a Likert score. From with a 5-point score, like,
Yeah.
I forget my research. Fundamental
Is it the
score.
5 or the 7, or which scale do you want?
Out of 5, how do you think this is going?
Out of 5, I mean, how do I think this is going? I would say it is going 4. And I think there is a reason for that. And the reason is that we are not done yet.
Interesting. That's a smart answer. I would have said 5. This is a good conference. I go to lots of events, and this conference I like, I'll tell you honestly, like, I like it because I like the number of people that are here. Everyone's here because they want to be here. Otherwise, who in their right mind would go to Chicago and every day? And like, Chicago is wonderful, but like, you walk outside, you melt.
Absolutely. It's like you're in a hot air tunnel.
That's right.
At all times.
And like, this conference has, it's had a really well curated content element to it. Of the things you knew what was going to be happening beforehand, right? What has surprised you in terms of the content that you've set up for this? What really struck you as a point that you didn't expect to be?
Yeah, no, thank you. Great question. I think there's just been a lot of conversations about AI, of course. And I think what has been really on our minds has been to what extent we were going to be able to kind of provide a lot of different flavors to this topic that is on all of our minds. And that was something we were noodling with. And I think as we're going through the conference and this experience, every single conversation that we've had about AI has had a fresh take on it. The most recent one was really the conversation we had with you about literally going beyond the obvious, and really what I took away from that session was really how much you can unlock when you just spend a bit more time with the tool, to quote you, if that's all right, to do, to try and do every single thing that you do, and keep AI involved in that process, which I think it's such a straightforward tip, but it is such a valuable one as we think about integration of AI in our day-to-day.
I think what's going to happen is the word AI is going to fade away.
Right.
Like, do you remember like 20 years ago, every event was, it's an internet research company, or a mobile research company.
Yeah.
And now those words don't exist.
Exactly.
It's just a company. I think that we're going to look back on this time, like, so for context's sake, we're talking in 2024 in June, right? I think we're going to look back at this and be like, we were so stupid then. We talked about AI constantly. It's like no one talks about it. It's a plumbing conference. We're in the plumbing. And it's.
I love that take. There is also another take, which could be that we will think about it through the lens of, how Google has taken over search.
Yeah.
So what will be the kind of winning AI tool that we will start verbalizing in in the way that we express, the way that perhaps it is enhancing what we do. So I'm curious about that, but completely agree with you. That is a very likely scenario.
Well, what's really impressed me here is that even though, AI is like the constant theme, there are different takes on it. It doesn't seem to be a selly conference, which I like.
Yeah.
And it actually doesn't know that way at all. And it seems to be, and I could be incorrect, but it seems like everyone who's here is really interested in making the field that we're in, this consumer understanding field. Calling it research even probably isn't the right word. The curiosity field,
the empathy field,
like, and we're all kind of geeks, which is cool.
Yeah, I love that as well.
And we're all proud to be geeks. Like, we don't even hide it.
We're insufferable human beings is what we are. But I think the other thing as well is, this thought of, well, there's a ton of conferences happening. And I think as we were thinking about the program, we really didn't just want it to be about AI, because you had this great point about, who knows how we might be looking back on this time 6 months from now, or even a month from now. And so really what we also wanted to pay attention to was to think about all the things around AI, aka our lives, the reality in the world that we're living in, the important topics of public discourse that we're dealing with, pop culture, everything, to really provide a sense of the context in which AI exists, because I think it continues to be important. As researchers, we sit on centuries of innovation, as we've heard today. There are big questions that need to be asked about how much innovation still lies ahead and how much of that will continue to impress us. There is a very smart person that has described that as the idea of the future was better. So yeah, I think, I'm rambling, but I think it was just important to us to make sure that the topics that we touched on were really multifaceted. And yeah.
What if in 10 years we look back at this and not say, we were at an AI conference, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But what if instead we say, we were in Chicago and it was only 100 degrees, it wasn't 150
Oh
degrees.
gosh, yeah, exactly.
On the walk over here, you talked to me about baseball. And you were telling me, you're like, Daniel, I have no idea about baseball. So I'm going to put you on the spot. You don't know about this. So I want to ask you, as someone who verbally said, I know nothing about baseball, what do you think baseball is about? Give me your best example of how the rules work.
The best example of how so this is amazing. Thank you, Dan, for doing this. Love it. Because I think this is actually how I will learn about baseball. So we will finally get to the bottom of what baseball actually is.
And I'm not going to give you any hints. So, okay, I am an alien from another planet. I've
Yes.
landed on the Earth.
Yes.
You are an expert in baseball. Explain baseball to me.
Yeah. So here's what happens. You go to this big place with a lot of other people. There is a space in the middle where folks run around or don't with, bats and gloves.
What's a bat?
A bat is a wooden stick.
Wooden stick. Okay.
Yes, a wooden stick. And
Do they two
your
gloves?
goal?
Do they?
I don't think so. I think there's one. Maybe there's two. Maybe they're different looking gloves,
Fair.
possibly. But I think really the rule is that you go in, you grab a burger or a hot dog, preferably a hot dog. You sit down for a very long time, potentially in the sun. So you want to make sure that the weather isn't too hot.
Is that why they have hats?
I think so.
Okay.
Yes. And I also really appreciate how, the uniforms are quite smart looking in a way of all the sports uniforms that I've seen.
I'm going to still keep you on the spot. You're giving me the aesthetics of baseball.
Yeah.
Like, I get the hamburger, I get the hat, I get the hot, I get the uniform. Explain the game to me. How does that work?
That is exactly where I think I will need to lean on your wisdom.
I tell you, just give me a guess. This is a little bit of an AI
Yes.
question.
Yeah. So I would say the game goes
AI-inspired
as
question.
follows. So we have somebody who bats the ball and another person who is crouching and catches or supposed to catch the ball or not, because that's where I start getting confused.
Are they on the same team or?
I think they're are they? I don't know. I don't remember actually.
Okay.
I don't even remember that. And then the person who bats the ball then starts running around
Yes?
the entire field.
The whole field.
I think so.
Good.
And needs to pass different bases.
What's a base?
That's also confusing, right? Because what is a base? I don't know what a base is.
The reason I'm asking this question,
Yes.
honestly, this is an AI-inspired question. Like, if you're asking a thing that knows nothing about the world, just guessing patterns.
Yeah.
And you've been alive for a bit, right? You know,
A little.
You know patterns. And you've seen baseball. So you know the aesthetic of baseball. You got the wooden stick, or the bat, right? Gloves. You run around the field. How do they score points? What is it? Points? Is it goals? Is it?
Yeah, I think it's points.
Yeah.
And
Is it runs? Is it?
Innings?
Innings, okay.
That resonates.
What's the best thing about baseball? What's the part where everyone starts cheering? What happens?
When they go around the bases and they get to the final one,
Okay.
or when somebody catches the ball. See, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
this is hopeless, my friend.
I'm almost done my question. Can you give me one example of a baseball game? Name one baseball game.
The Mets.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. I'm done my questions on baseball. But the example here is actually for a reason, right?
Yeah.
It's not just to make you seem completely
Unaware of baseball.
And I'm not trying to change you to baseball. But it's to show you, when you ask AI questions, it'll give you, like, the things you just told me back sounded decent. Like, I followed along, right? But I have knowledge you don't have in that sphere.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could ask me questions. I'll try. Ask me what's I wouldn't know about.
Yeah, let's see. What can you tell me about Italian politics?
Great. Cool. Similarly, I know general patterns, but I have no concept. After like Berlusconi.
I know.
Is that
Yeah. Is he
was a
alive or
guy-
dead?
I think he just passed away, but I think he had maybe a very interesting life where he was. But he seemed like a very, this is a great question. We're doing this example back and forth for a reason, right? What do I know about Italian politics? Italian politics, I think it's not the British system. I think it's, is it representation by, do all the parties play a role? Like, is that like
Maybe.
And then, this is so fun. The point's been proven. We get it. Like, I can talk Italian food. Or Italian wine. That's a better topic. We're almost done this podcast. In terms of when I used to meet people, where I used to go to a conference or event, I'd sit at a table and I'd ask people, "Tell me one thing you know about my country, or my place, or my city, or my." And you do at the table of Esomar is great because you have so many different people,
Correct.
right? And there are, for any place you're from, there are going to be things that come to the top, and then things that I have no idea about. I think that lack, the cultural context is something that I'm going to go back to AI. That AI can't fake.
Yeah.
AI can't, and AI has baked in cultural context because it's trained on Americentric, Eurocentric information.
Yeah. It's that point that you made earlier about, talk to it, speak with it like you would with a human being, but don't forget that it is not at all human. And so when we were just going through this excruciating exercise of trying to describe what baseball is, that is exactly what kind of brought it to life for me, is this idea of it will give you maybe trappings and elements that will stimulate culture and its deep understanding, but it will not be on the same page in terms of processing information.
In my mind, Italian politics has really good looking suits, and has a lot of yelling, and has a lot of passion, and it changes every week. That's what I think it is, but I don't know.
And still it stays the same.
And this, my friends, is why you should always rehearse before you do a podcast. We'll always have a script, or never have a script. So
just have a good time,
yeah,
to be honest.
We're having a fun time here in Chicago. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
And you, Dan. Thank
and
you.
I hope you have a nice afternoon.
And you. Thanks. Thanks, everyone.